Painting and Travel next visits the island of St. Croix and the town of Christiansted. Sarah enjoys the breezy downtown and steel pans. Roger makes a few sketches on location, then back in his studio paints an historic church in the center of town.
We're on the very breezy island of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's about 1,000 miles southeast of Miami, and the island's only about 80 square miles and has a population of 60,000 people. There are two towns. There's Christiansted and also Christiansted. And we were on a cruise ship. We came into Christiansted, and then for just $1, we took a half-hour bus ride with a very nice bus driver and came over to Christiansted. We've always wanted to see this area. It's just quite lovely, very sunny, and of course it might be the middle of the winter the rest of the world, but here it's summer, it's gorgeous, and lots of water sports and shopping activities. And Roger has found something that he would like to sketch, so I think we'll join him and talk to him. Hi, Raj.
Hi, Sarah.
Have you decided what you're going to zero in on and sketch?
Well, I've made a few sketches around town. There's some quite interesting buildings, but I especially like this little church here. Right now, I'll just finish this sketch just so I have a little idea. I think, well, maybe let's take a photograph here, too. This might make a nice painting.
Oh, I think it would.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we can check out the interior later, see if they're giving any tours.
That'd be good. In fact, let's go over there now and see if they're open.
Okay.
For reference on this painting, I've taken a screenshot from the video, and I'm using a 16 by 20 inch piece of masonite board covered with gesso here. But I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm going to use some different lighting, and this is a painting I did some time ago. And this method of painting was inspired by my friend James Gurney. And as you can see, there's some very dramatic light in this painting. Now, the photograph doesn't have that at all, but I'm going to try and achieve that on this painting here. All right, I'm going to get started, and on my palette I have titanium white, ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, Indian yellow, cadmium yellow, alizarin crimson, cadmium red, and 3 earth colors, burnt umber, burnt sienna, and yellow ochre. Now, basically what I have here is my 3 primary colors, blue, yellow, and red. Then I've added these earth colors sort of as a convenience. I really could mix all I need with just these primary colors, but these earth colors will come in handy and help to speed things along. I have my atomizer, which I use very frequently. I'm going to mist that board just to get it slightly damp. Then I'll tone the board with these bright colors in the center here. Now, I've already made my drawing underneath, and just this thin paint will not destroy those pencil lines that I have on there. And then on the rest of this, I'm going to make a darker purple color with some cerulean blue and alizarin crimson. And these colors are going to change dramatically as I go along, but this will just act as a base coat for the painting. So I'll just continue to put these on, and I'm careful not to make this paint too thick because I don't want to lose my pencil lines in here. And I sort of know where I'm going to go or where I want to go on this painting. So I'm really leaving parts of the church here in this bright yellow color. And the purple background will end up as more of the shadow areas. Well, this looks pretty strange right now, but I hope I can mold this into something that has a dramatic effect. Well, I'm going to wait just a few minutes and let this dry before we continue. Okay, this is dry now, and it's literally only been just a couple of minutes. The acrylic paints seem to dry faster on a masonite board than they do on canvas. Not sure why that is. Well, as you can see, I don't have any green on my palette. I'm just going to mix my own greens today. A good way to make a variation of greens, if they start to look all the same, is to add a bit of red to the green. All right, well, let's begin up here with this large tree. And I'm just going to block this in. I'm not going to spend too much time with detail. And really, I never spend much time with detail in the first part of the painting. I just want to get these large shapes blocked in, and that will give me the foundation of the painting. And a touch more of that green down here on this lawn. Now, since this photograph is going to be vastly different than the painting, I'm really only going to use this photograph as sort of a reference more for the drawing than I am for the color. And over here to the right, have another tree. Now, some of the drawing did disappear when I put these colors on, but that's all right. I do have the drawing here of the church, so that's mainly the important part. And right back here, there's a shape of a few more buildings, and I'm going to just cut around those shapes. Now, I'm really going to block out a lot of these colors I put on here, but this will give me a start, sort of a pattern and a guide to work from. I think I will keep that sky quite dark, but right up here, and of course it's very, very thin now. And paintings really shouldn't look that thin unless it's a watercolor. So I'm going to mix my purple again. I don't want it extremely dark, but I do want it a lot darker than is in the photograph. And I'll cut around the church. Right here, I can still see that drawing. And if this is not quite the right color, this is okay, because this is just the block-in process. And this blocking in goes very quickly, and if it needs changing, then I just go ahead and change it. I don't worry about it. And that's one reason, or it's the main reason, I don't add a lot of detail or get into the detail aspect of the painting right away, because often these areas just need to be changed. So if I were to start putting in any detail early on, I would just have to go back and change it, which would sort of be a kind of a waste of time. So I want to get everything in place to start with. All right, now we have a nice shadow coming over this building and over the roof. I'm going to keep the roof quite yellow, but I'm going to add some yellow ochre to that, because it's a little bit darker than the very light areas. And this part here is in shadow. Still using this paint quite thin. I build up my paint as I go along. Usually start with quite thin paint, and then I work to thicker paint. Now, of course, this is a white building here, but it's in shadow, and I will be changing the colors on that. I'm going to keep that sort of this yellowish green color. So I got my yellow ochres, a bit of blue, because I want to keep harmony in this painting. And right up here on the roof, it's the same sort of thing. We've got the shadow coming over the roof. And back here, I'm going to use that same color with the building in this far distance. And right down here, where the road is, and the sidewalk, and the street back here. What I'm trying to do at this point is just sort of get a pleasing look with these colors. More green, touch of red, more trees coming down in here. area of the trees right in here get very dark. So I'm going to take my ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. I'll make those very dark right in this area. I can spray my board every now and then. That'll help this wet paint to flow over the dry paint. Let's get back to that sky one more time. I don't feel it's quite the right value. I believe it's a little too dark. Here's where the tree is. There's a few negative areas right in here. And up top, we'll just continue to cover this one more time. Paintings like this are really all about just going over them until the right values and the right colors are achieved. And I don't always get them right. I certainly don't get them right the first time around. I would like to be able to say that, but I always make adjustments throughout the painting. Well, it's beginning to look a little dramatic, so that's part of the goal, so that's good. I'll take that yellow and we'll just tip the edge of that top of that tree here with some of that yellow. And maybe a hint of that over on this side too. Here we have two windows and they are very dark, so I'll take my ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and some yellow. I'll take my three colors. That should make a nice neutral dark color. See, that's almost black, but I didn't use black, and it's there is some color in there. If I'd used black, it probably would have ended up looking very dead and dull, but by using my three primary colors to make this very dark color, it does have some life to it. And I'm using a bright, it has a chisel edge on it to create these sharp corners. All the way along here we have a fence. In the photograph there's some automobiles blocking that. I'm going to leave the automobiles out. I don't think I need those in here. And I'll run that same tone right back over here. And I'll refine that fence later on. Obviously that's not a fence, it looks like a wall, but this is part of the blocking in process. And then here as this light wraps around the steeple, it's darker on this side. This building back here is a blue color, so I'm going to use my cerulean blue, maybe cut it with a bit of burnt umber. I'll continue to adjust these colors. I really am losing my drawing here, but as long as I got the large shapes, that'll give me a key as to where these other details will lie just by looking at my reference photograph. For instance, there's a white gateway or entrance right there. As long as I know where this big shape is here, I know that the entrance will go right in there. Now on the very top here, the steeple, trying to keep that nice and warm. I don't want to lose this yellow glow I have in here. I like to keep jumping around to each part of my painting as I go. I don't want to finish any one area. That goes back to the detail thing again. I don't want to put in any detail in one area until I sort of get the whole thing working. Right back here we have another building and it's got a tile roof on it. That adds a very nice touch of burnt sienna. Okay, let's go back to the shadow one more time with the cerulean blue and yellow ochre. Makes a green color. That's that shadow right in here. So right under the eave, let's put another shadow right under the eave. Now this, of course, does not show up on the photograph, but I'm changing this to give it that sort of theatrical and dramatic look. Here we have the shadow on the roof, and we'll add a few more small shadows from the tree going over the side. Same down here. I do want to paint in some of these details with my brush, put them in there before I lose all of my drawing. Now I've missed my mark a little here. This is a bad area. That creates a tangent. That's where all three of these lines come together. That's not good. And when I reference my photograph over there, I do notice that this building is taller. So we'll take that same blue and I'll just raise that up. And now I don't get that tangent there with those 3 points. I'll go back to the window now, because part of this is in sunlight. So I'll take my Indian yellow and I'll lighten this part of the window. And we'll take the yellow on the roof, maybe add a few more negative areas in this area of the roof. That just gives it a little more interest to have those varied shapes in there. That's just where the sunlight will be hitting that roof, coming between the branches and limbs of the tree. And I'll use the same green that I used for the shadow. And this is the white part of the steeple, but I'm not going to make it white or gray or any other color. I need to keep harmony in here. I need to keep in mind that all these colors sort of have to go together. I can't have some strange color in here unless it's a foreign note of colors. Here's where that arch is. So I'll just mix my yellow and I'll put that arch back in there. I keep using this cerulean blue and yellow and the yellow ochre. Right here we have the fence, and then we have these pillars that are holding up the fence posts. They're made out of concrete. They're fairly substantial. Now I'm not adding any detail to these yet either, just blocking them in with the big basic shapes. I'm going to spray my palette with my atomizer, and I'll just scrape off this wet paint. There we go. Gives me some extra room there to start fresh. Well, this is coming along fairly well, so I think this might be a good time to take a break and go back to St. Croix.
Music brings back memories, and the pan music you're hearing reminded me of the steel band I used to play in and a trip I took to Trinidad once, home and originators of the steel pan. It's a happy sound that I often associate with beautiful islands like St. Croix. Islanders tend to be friendly to the tourists that bring business, and therefore you feel welcomed here. Start to relax and loosen your collar and your shoelaces. These instruments were made from 55-gallon steel drums left behind by the U.S. forces stationed on the island of Trinidad back in the 1940s. This shows you just how brilliant recycling can be, not to mention what a terrific feeling it creates hearing these sounds. Next, we'll listen to the perfect song for walking through Christiansted. It was written and performed by our friend Bertie Higgins. His stay here inspired the lyrics and melody that you'll hear while we look around and take in the sights. I'll do the walking, you can do the relaxing.
We danced all night to the fiddle and the pipe, made love in the morning light. All right, Christiansted. Through the window the bastard came, screaming out her name. Like a banshee in pain, he came in Christiansted. Christiansted, oh Christiansted. He came in Christiansted. Quicksilver was the knife as it flashed before his life. Blood red and crimson red as he lay dead in Christiansted. So I stole her away. We sailed that day. No more play for the pirates' pay. Hey, Christiansted. Christiansted, whoa, Christiansted. Hey, Christiansted. Christiansted, whoa, Christiansted. Hey, Christiansted.
Tap some of those in. Again, I'll spray my board. That just keeps that board a little moist so these paints go on nice and easy. Otherwise, they can kind of drag if the board is real dry. And maybe just a touch of rim lighting with this same yellow. Okay, now it's time to add some more detail to the steeple and the buildings here. I think I have the basics finished. Here we have this curve going around here. This is not a window, but it's just a little indentation there. To get these straight lines, I'm just using my ruler. I'm putting my brush right against the end of that ruler with my thumb and forefinger. Just going to slide my hand down the board. And with a light touch, just make that straight line. Got a few of those there. Looks like there are some shutters on those windows. I've got some burnt sienna here, and I'll just add some color right in there. Maybe a touch of red too. There. And with the yellow once again, maybe there'd be some light reflecting on some of those panes of glass. Then I have a highlight right up there on the edge of the roof. So I'm going to just take my white, my ruler once again, and let's put that nice sharp edge of light right on the edge of the roof. I'll take my brush, load it up with some of this dark paint, twirl my brush so it has a nice point on it. Keep that brush really wet so the paint just flows off the tip of that brush, just with that very light touch. Since I have quite a bit of paint on the brush, and since it's thin, I can go quite a few strokes there without loading the brush up again. See, that works very quickly. I'm just moving my finger over here. I'm moving this ruler back as I go. You know, it doesn't matter if they're all perfect. This is a painting. This is a impression of the building here, so if I don't get these all quite even, it's all right. It just gives it a little more character. Looks like that might be a lot of work, but it's really very, very, very quick and easy. There's some nice weathering marks right under here, so I'm taking my burnt sienna. I'll spray that, and I'll just drag a few little weathered stains down there on the face of the building. And this roof looks very flat, so I'm going to add some texture to that roof. I'll mix up a gray with some cerulean blue and brown. So I'll just take my brush, just a little paint on it, and scuff that up just slightly. Add a hint of a few shingles here and there. I don't want to put shingles everywhere, but just one or two there, one or two here. Let's put a few finishing touches on here now. I'm going to take my pastel pencil again. Let's just add a few figures in here, maybe a couple of people talking to each other. I'm going to keep these kind of in the same color range as the rest of the painting. And I'll just block these in here as one large shape. And then when that paint sets up some, we'll go in and add some more color. Well, we have a few more details. Up here there's a clock. Now this is risky, but I'm going to try it. The sky is such a solid color that I'm going to go over the sky one more time. Let me scrape my palette off here. So I don't want those colors all mixing together. I'll start out with the same colors, the purple. I'm going to add my yellow ochre. And I just want to change the flat look of that sky. Kind of subtle changes here, but I think it might make a difference. Maybe just add a few clouds up here. Now with some more yellow-green, I'm going to highlight a few more of these areas in the tree. All right, to finish, let's go back to these people here. And let's give one of them a cerulean blue shirt. And burnt sienna, yellow ochre. Let's put a little color in their face. And I'll stay with the yellow. Put a touch of rim lighting on this shirt right there. And a dark pair of pants on this one. And then I'll just drag a shadow right along there. Well, I think that should finish this piece with just a little bit of a different approach than what we've done in the past.
For more information about painting and travel with Roger and Sarah Bansemer, visit paintingandtravel.com.